Good morning and welcome to Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell. Now for today's show, here's attorney Ethel Mitchell.
Good morning. Good morning. This is attorney Ethel Mitchell and welcome. Welcome to Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell. Welcome to all who are listening throughout the world on Radio 1, 1450 AM, WOLDCnews.com, and LawTalkWithEthelMitchell.com. There's an echo. We have a great program for you today. We're going to be discussing ideas that you might use during the Christmas holidays. We're going to talk about ways of gifting during the holidays. I think you're going to enjoy the program. Hold on just a moment, please. There's an echo. There's an echo, a bad echo. Okay, thank you. So, this program is brought to you by Wills and Trust, LLC, my law office, where I prepare wills, trust, and power of attorneys and advanced medical directives for people. So if you or anyone you know needs a will, a trust, or assistance in administering an estate, please call me at 202-772-1988. That's 202-772-1988. Law is powerful. It can help you or it can hurt you. It impacts everything you do. What you don't know can hurt you, but what you do know can really empower you. So each week, Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell aims to empower you by bringing you professionals who know the law to enlighten you. Today we're going to talk about the holidays, okay? And things that you can do during the holidays to both gifting for your families, gifting for charities. I have lists of different types of charities, primarily black, but other charities that you can consider gifting to. I have some ideas that you may have to, or you may want to follow in terms of your family, things that you can do during the holidays. And I think that in general, what we want to talk about today is how we can make sure that the holidays are productive, fun, but also can be very beneficial to your family and to causes and others that you believe in. But please remember, whatever you hear on this program is for information purposes only. No attorney-client relationship is established by anything said on the program. Each person's circumstances are different, and you must seek individual counsel for any situation for which you need legal advice. It's the holidays. So happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas. My limited knowledge of religions, I don't know the other holidays that are being celebrated during this season. I know there are quite a few, but I wish all of you a very happy holiday season. I would like to recommend some things that you might want to consider doing during this holiday, and that is to create situations where the older members of your family, of your friends, talk to you about themselves, about their lives, about the things that they have done. And let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. A whole generation is passing. Yesterday, all of my clients are my favorite clients, but one of my favorite clients passed. And I won't say his name because I didn't ask the family, but he was a World War II veteran. He came back from the war. He took care of his family. He was a great father and a great man in the D.C. community here. I called LaVon Woods, Mo Better Man's daughter, just to see how she was doing, and told her that I wanted to get whatever specific information she might find on what units in the Marines he was in and some of the other activities that he had been a part of. And one of the things she said to me was, in going through his stuff, she found out that Mobetta Man, when he came back from the war, from Vietnam, was a policeman with the government printing office and had gotten all kind of awards doing that, and including some kind of a commendation from the mayor. And she said to me, and these were her words, she said, "Who was this man?" Because she knew nothing about this part of his life. And I think it's important that we learn the true stories of our elders, and that the men in particular talk to the young men in the families about their experiences. If they were in the Army or in the Marines or any form of the service, if they grew up on a farm, they know how to shoot a gun. And so they need to talk to young people and say, this is not a toy. You know, this is how I learned, and this is what it's about. They need to tell, because our young people will hear it coming from them maybe better than coming from anybody else, somebody that has the experience. One of the things that I've noticed because I do a lot of public speaking, and that is that a lot of children do not realize that television is not real. And they look at, that's the only reality they know because they haven't been told or exposed to anything else. So during the holidays, have the men and the women in your family, especially if they're older, talk to you in detail about experiences. Maybe not all at one time. I mean, it takes longer than, an hour or so to talk about a 90-year-old life. But it's important that you do so. In my family, we have a Kwanzaa, a one-day Kwanzaa evening, where originally we did the ceremony with the candle lighting and so on like that, and talked about what each of the days meant. And then we would have the children speak each year. It's been fun because you see children who started out at 6 years old, they're now finishing college. And each year a child stands up and says, this is what grade I'm in, I finished high school, whatever's going on in their life. One of our children came back from the war. She was in Afghanistan, and she talked a little bit about that. It's a way for us to know, because I have a very big family, what is happening with everybody. Lately, we've been asking my dad, who's 93, and my mother, who's 88, to also talk about their life experiences. And every time they do, as much as I know them, I learn something new. So I recommend that you have that conversation all during the holidays, and then individually seek out these persons in your family to have these conversations. And perhaps another thing that you could do is record the conversations. iPhones now record things. Record them and then save them on a computer and send them to each other. Something else that's really, really nice to do. One day my daughter, you know how everybody has pictures from wherever. She sat down one day and she scanned all mother's pictures, and that included like back in the 1903 and like my grandfather was a mason and all kinds of things like that. Well, she scanned all that stuff in and then was able to label them and copied them and gave them to everybody. One day I would love to have somebody do several books on the family, like just Shutterfly type books with pictures of my, mother, my grandmother, my grandfather, and all these other people. So these are just ideas that you could use to do things together over the holidays, because bottom line is it's important to know your history. And it's been proven that children who know their history, their family history, even if it includes some bad stuff in that history, are much stronger as people, because they understand that if their family went through stuff and maybe it wasn't always great, but they survived, they can go through stuff and they can survive. And that's an important survival technique. So let's get started with the more particulars of gifting during the holidays. A lot of people like to gift of course, during the holidays. So let's start with family. One of the things I would recommend that you start is, instead of buying a ton of toys, especially for young children who don't really, they play with them, and if you're like our family, you got a ton of aunts and uncles, and so everybody gets a toy. The child is overwhelmed, overstimulated, and in 2 weeks, the toy is lost or left behind. What we started instead was we set up we're in Texas, so it's a scholarship fund at a Texas, like a 529 plan for every young baby. We have 6 babies right now in the family. So every one of the 6 babies has a scholarship fund. And we named someone in the family who is not of the immediate line of that baby, okay, to be the administrator. And then we send around the but the account number for each child, who the check is to be made out to, and who gets the check. If each one of you give $10, $20, $50, or $100, whatever it might be, these children actually are like 6 years old right now. That's the oldest one, I believe. So if you've got 20 aunts and uncles and grandparents and so on like that, giving, $20, that's $400 every year for the next 10 years, which hopefully will grow. And maybe somebody will give $200, $300, $400 eventually, or whatever. But that's a much better use of the money. Putting it in what's called a 529 plan or similar plan for the education of those young children is a very, very useful thing that you can do for any young person in your family, particularly if their parents may have difficulty in saving for college for them. A lot of young couples are struggling, and so saving for college may be something they're just not able to afford to do right now. But it's a lot more useful if those of us who are not immediately responsible for their day-to-day care would help with their future educational needs, okay? So that's one way to do it. Another way, if you have more money and you want to make significant gifts to or for children, you can, of course, create trusts for children. And this can be your grandchildren, your own children, your friends' children. When we come back, we'll talk about that in more detail. Then we'll get into gifting to churches and other charities, okay?
1450 WOL, where information is power.
One VIP card from American Express. Serve your full-service reloadable prepaid account. OneVIPcard.com. Hey, listen, next time you're hungry, stop by Tori's Restaurant. That's right, Northwest V Street and Georgia Avenue, right across the street from Howard University Hospital. Tori's Restaurant. Tori's Restaurant. Now, if you like good food, then this is where you need to be. Tori's Restaurant. They got breakfast all day, low country cuisine, also lump crab cakes, short ribs, and a whole lot more. And they got this daily special. Mondays, Ask the Chef Day. Wednesday, beef liver with onions and gravy. Thursday, meatloaf with gravy. Friday, fried whiting with hush puppies. 2 sides, bread, iced tea, lemonade, or mix. Ask about our catering service, too. Call ahead for carryout. 202-462-3700. Tori's Restaurant, 700 V Street at Georgia Avenue, Northwest D.C. Right in front of Howard University Hospital. That's Tori's Restaurant, 202-462-3700.
Welcome back to The Cat Show. Up next we have Nico. Nico is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right. A group known especially for their sunspot sleeping, ball chasing, leg rubbing, couch purring, bed leaping, and of course companionship.
Wonderful. And what breed would you say Nico is?
I'd have to go with a tabbyish Persian kind of mix.
Tremendous cat.
I'd also like to point out her coat's wonderful mix of colors. Is it black, gray, gray-black, brown?
Somewhere in between.
Indeed.
You know, it's always special when we get to see a cat like this.
Just look how she struts.
It's like she owns the place.
And how she's so incredibly cute in her indifference to commands.
A strong-willed feline.
Ah, and see how she curls up and cuddles her person.
The pitch on her purring is simply perfect.
Nice one.
I know. Fantastic cat.
Fantastic indeed. But really the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Nico is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm gonna keep ticking. But no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave, but unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
And now for the number one play of the week. You couldn't ask for a better finish.
He moves left. He sees an opening. He's at the designated driver booth, and it looks like he's pledging. He's going to make sure his friends and family buckle up and get home safely. With that play, the designated driver's one step closer to following his favorite team to the Super Bowl, because responsibility has its rewards. To find out more, visit the designated driver booth at the stadium or www.rhir.org.
A message from this station and Team Coalition.
Volunteering doesn't have to be a chore.
There is no better feeling than helping somebody else.
It can really open up your heart to new things.
Are you a young volunteer making a difference? Apply for the Prudential Spirit of Community Award. Visit spirit.prudential.com.
News Talk 1450 WOL AM, where information is power.
Back. This is Attorney Ethel Mitchell, and I welcome you to Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell. Forgive me if my voice is a little different today. I'm not completely up to par, but we're going to do the best we can here. We're talking about gifting, and I had started talking about how you can gift for your children, your nieces, nephews, grandchildren, by creating 529 plans or 529 type plans, and then having everybody each year gift into those plans. And what that does is it creates a scholarship fund, not scholarship, but a college fund for that particular child. And what that does is it gives that child a future education that they may not have otherwise. And it allows the family and friends, and it could be anybody. In our family, we have a lot of friends who are adopted into the family. And so they help to give, godparents give. And really and truly, instead of gifting that $20 or $30 or $50 for a piece of clothing or toys that the children's going to outgrow, that money can go into giving them an education. We won't get into trust, but just know that you can always gift, create trust for children to receive money. And I think in another program I talked about there's a particular kind of trust that allows you to put larger sums of money, up to $14,000 a year, into a well, let me explain something. You can gift $14,000 a year to anybody without having to file a gift tax return, okay? Understand that when you give somebody a car or something like that, unless it is your spouse or unless it is a dependent of yours where you're paying for their care, their education, and so on like that, then you are supposed to file a gift tax return. So be aware of that. It is a great way at the end of the year, however, if you are older, if you are sick, if you have money and an estate that is going to be taxed, and you know that you want a particular person or persons to receive money from your estate and you want to reduce your estate under the taxable amount, this is the time of the year when a lot of people can give, or you can do it any time of the year, But just know that if you want to, you can gift $14,000 now, and you can give another $14,000 after January. If you are a couple, you can each give $14,000. That's $28,000. And in January, you can give another double $14,000. And you can do that to anybody you want to. But just know it's a great way to transfer money without there being a tax and get that money to where you want it to go, and possibly reduce your own expected estate tax. So that's a little beyond. We're just talking about gifting today. But that's an important legal issue or legal matter for you to know about. Now, let's talk about gifting to charities and to churches. As we all know, of course, you can always give to your church. Many people tithe. Many people do special gifts during the Christmas seasons for your churches. Many people give to various charities. I thought that it would be a good time to talk about charities of different kinds. I mean, we all hear about the big charities. So, you know, the Heart Association, the Cancer Association, and so forth. I want people to also know about charities that serve the black community as well, and know that they are there and they need your money as well. There is a website called blackcharities.net, and according to their website, they are affiliated throughout the United States. They receive money. You can gift through the federal contribution campaign. You can go online and find their number there. But blackcharities.net is one of the resources that you can go to and use to give to black charities. Another one would be the organizations that we all know about, of course, HBCUs, the historically black colleges and universities. Each of them are, you know, they're 501c3 organizations where your donations are going to be, you want to, well, to the extent it's important to you, you want to be able to deduct your gifts, and so you want to give to organizations like that. I'm always asking people to donate to the Sickle Cell Anemia Foundation at Howard University Medical School, because sickle cell anemia is a very, very painful disease. A lot of people still suffer with it. People of our race suffer with it more than anywhere else, any other race that I know of, although I hear that some other people do have it. But either way, it needs to be cured, and they need the money to help in curing it. Another set of organizations that I would love to see people donate to are organizations that deal with victims and survivors of sexual slavery and sexual abuse. I received information on an organization called 3AM Girls. Tina Frunt, F-R-U-N-D-T, who is a survivor herself. She's executive director of Courtney's House, and that's Courtney's House, C-O-U-R-T-N-E-S, house.org, provides direct services to victims and survivors and operates a drop-in center. She was on Lisa Ling's program on Our America, and that's one organization. Unfortunately, that kind of thing happens in our communities. Not the black community, every community in the United States, unfortunately. There's one called Rights, the number 4girls.com is another one. There are many, those are organizations that you don't hear a lot about, but I'd like you to consider gifting to them. Another organization that has an entire listing of black organizations and organizations serving the black community and is full of a wealth of information is called the Network Journal, or their website is tnj.com. tnj.com. Go there and you will find an entire list of organizations that serve the black community and a lot of places where you can put your money to good use in our community. And I think it's time for us to start thinking about that, and that just start doing it, not just thinking about it. And I'm not saying not to contribute to other organizations. I'm just saying let's try and contribute to those who are particularly helping in our community as well. There's one in particular that works with breast cancer survivors, and that's called Sisters Network, Inc. That's SISTERNetworkinc.org. They are particularly concerned with working with black women who have breast cancer. So do consider them. There's another one, and gift money to them. There's another one called the African American Breast Cancer Alliance, or AABCAINC.org. African American Breast Cancer Alliance. Do consider gifting money to them. At tnj.com, that is a very exhaustive list, which includes the major churches as well as other nonprofits that do good work throughout the world. And so when you are gifting your money this Christmas, please consider those organizations as well. Additionally, the Washington Post had a very interesting article this week. I didn't put down the date, but I tore it out, and it talked about how to give to a charity like an economist would. And one of the things that they talk about is there's an organization called, or a website called Give Directly, and another one called Give Well. And you can go to both of those online. And what this organization claims to do is to examine the amount of money that's received by an organization and determine how much of that money actually goes to the intended recipients as opposed to what's used for the care of the organization, shall we say. And when I come back, I'm going to explain a little bit more about that because that's important to note. But we'll be back shortly. Thank you.
$14.50 WOL, where information is power.
Hey, there's my son. You've been in your room all morning.
Hey, Dad.
Matt, what's wrong with your voice?
There is nothing wrong with my voice.
Oh, well, it's just sort of.
I have been playing my video games and electronic games for so many hours.
Uh-huh. Well, it sounds like it might be time for you to take a break, or...
Hello, Dad.
Susan?
I have been watching TV and text messaging all morning. Yay, electronics. Yay, yay, yay.
Guys, I think it's about time to get in the car and take a little trip. Maybe see some trees, some green things.
What are these green things you speak of?
This weekend, unplug. Take your family to the forest. There's nothing in the world like experiencing nature firsthand. Trees, paths, bluebirds, streams. Getting closer to nature can get you closer to your family. To find the forest nearest you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
Okay, here goes. I know more about cooking dinner for a party of 12 than I do about packing a lunch for a 12-year-old. I know kids like things like PB&J, pigs in a blanket. Oh, and fish sticks. They do love fish sticks. Fillets I get, but sticks? What part of the fish does the stick come from? I know I can read a cookbook that'll tell me how to make a red wine reduction, but where are the cookbooks that can teach me how to cut the crusts off bologna sandwiches? Oh, maybe we can compromise on mac and cheese. Can you make that with brie? Everybody likes brie, right?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to push your food around their plate. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures. a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I am your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Hey America, we are your pets, and this song's dedicated to those people who don't have health insurance yet.
Enroll, we say, we want you to be okay. Enroll, we say, take care of people for goodness sake. There's a plan for every budget, so don't accept defeat. Now you can get covered and still buy me treats. Enroll!
So listen to me, a talking pug, you see. If you get health insurance, preventive care is now free.
So sweet.
You take care of your pets. Now it's their turn to take care of you. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn about your health insurance options. That's getcoveredamerica.org.
And take care, people!
Brought to you by Get Covered America and the Ad Council.
News Talk 1450 WOL-AM, where information is power.
Welcome back. You are listening to Attorney Ethel Mitchell on Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell. We are having a program today on gifting. I just finished giving you a list. I'm going to repeat. TNJ.com is an exhaustive list of black organizations or organizations that serve the black community. And it lists churches as well as many other organizations, Breast Cancer Alliance, Sister Network, many, many others. So I recommend strongly that you go there and consider gifting your gifts to some of those organizations. I was just about to start talking about two other organizations that actually examine organizations who deal with the global poor. For those of you who are interested in gifting to organizations that do work overseas. There's one organization called GiveWell, GIVEWELL, and what it does is it focuses on charities that do the most good for the people who need it the most, the global poor. And they actually rate different organizations, and the Against Malaria Foundation gets one of their highest rating, because what they find is that this organization provides mosquito nets for people, and by providing mosquito nets to people, you can actually save their lives. Okay, so that is another good organization that you may want to give money to. Another one, which I had not heard of, actually I had read about it somewhere, called Give Directly, is a rather Give Directly, DIRECTLY. This has a novel approach that has been very effective. What they do is they give money, cash money, directly to specific poor people in Kenya and in Uganda. Cold hard cash with no strings attached. And what they have found is that 2 years later, the people that they've given money to, and it's not large sums of money, they do things that they consider in their best interest. And 2 years later, people are making 45% more than those who did not receive this money. So they may invest it in businesses, they may invest it in putting a roof over their heads. There are all kinds of things that are done with the money. but it's a rather unique charity, and they could use more money. So that's they find it's been very effective, and that they're very closely monitored. So there's, according to them at least, no bribery and no corruption the way it's done, because there's a way to transmit the money electronically through the telephone in Kenya and in Uganda, and they have agencies where you pick up the money and so forth. So anyway, this just an idea, again, things that you can do to give money that will put your money to good use this Christmas. And I must say, the lawyer in me says I have to tell you that I have no relationship to any of these charities. I'm only using material that we were able to find, online. I have given myself and in groups that I belong to the Sisters Network for Breast Cancer, and to some of the others that I've talked about. And of course, I've given to church and so forth. But I just wanted to share with you some information and broaden the scope of where you might give money that would still be very, very useful. There's a lot of need out there in our communities of all colors and all races and all places. So, and of course, the goodwill and the homeless need help, and everybody needs help. So please consider them when you consider doing your gifting. Now, I would be amiss if I did not talk about how to give using your will and your trust and so forth like that, okay? As you all always hear me say, and let me just be a little bit more specific too here, since we're doing gifting. If you want to gift to a charity, if you want to gift to your alma mater, to your school, to your church, to whatever organization, there are many ways of doing it. You can gift simply, of course, by writing a check. Most charities receive gifts through credit cards. People don't realize you can contact the charity, give them your credit card, make a payment, and they will receive the money, and you will receive your receipt that you can use for your tax donation. Long-term gift planning can include, of course, pledging, where you give a certain amount each year, each month, periodically, okay? And many of my clients who are retired receive retirement. They receive, like a pension of some kind. They receive Social Security. And if you're over 70, there's what's called a required minimum distribution, where you have to start taking money out of your 401k, your IRAs and so forth like that. You have to. And a lot of people really don't need that required minimum distribution to live off of. They have savings, they have enough income and so forth. And so I would like people to consider gifting your required minimum distribution to your school, to your church, to your charities. That's a great way to gift money that you do not need and still get a tax deduction for it, and provide scholarships, provide medical care, provide the assistance that charities give to much needed people. So understand that that's another way of doing it. If you have an annuity, and again, while you're alive, you may not need the money that's coming to you from your annuity, you can pledge that to your church, to your school, to a charity that's important to you. There are, of course, trusts that you can create that will give to charities while you're alive and while, after you die. One of the good things, if you want to, we can go into gifting after your death, is, again, particularly if you need the tax deduction to keep your estate from being liable for estate taxes, and even if you don't, if you just want to give, one of the best places to give money from is your retirement account. And let me explain why that is. When you put money aside for retirement, often that is pre-taxed money. 401k, IRAs, not Roth IRAs, but regular IRAs, are pre-taxed money. And so when it comes back out, either to you or to, your heirs, your beneficiaries, Uncle Sam wants his taxes, okay? A lot of us, on a similar way, well, let me just finish that thought. If you give that money to a charity instead, like you say, 50% of my retirement is to go to Howard University human genomes study. People don't realize Howard University has one of the best studies on DNA there is in the country, and they could use some money, to follow up with their research. But let's say, for example, you decide that you want to give part of your money to a particular charity. Then you can designate from your retirement that money to go to this nonprofit organization, and as long as it is a legitimate 501c3 organization, that money goes without any taxes coming out of it. And many of us know that the tax that comes out of the retirement is often 1/3. It can be up to 1/3 of what is in there. So that's another good way of doing it. Similarly, if you have stocks that you bought a long time ago, if you have a home that you bought a long time ago, property, and let's say your basis in those stocks or that home or whatever is relatively low, and by that I mean you paid $50,000 for something 20 years ago and it's now worth $450,000. Well, if you give it to a charity, the entire $450,000 goes to that charity. Whether it's Apple stock that maybe you bought at 50 and is now worth 500, or it is, whatever it may be, the appreciation in the stock or in the value of the asset is, all of it goes to the charity without any taxes coming out. That is one of the ways in which Uncle Sam encourages people to give to charities, to educational institutions, to scientific institutions, and so forth. And quite honestly, that's how a lot of institutions become strong, because people do donate those things and they save a lot of taxes by it, okay? The other thing that you can do, of course, is to buy life insurance. And in your life insurance policies, you can name a charity as a full beneficiary or a partial, beneficiary to part of your life insurance. You can name your life on your life insurance policy. Let's say you have a FIGLI, federal employee life insurance, group life insurance policy, or maybe you have a New York life insurance policy. It doesn't matter. Any kind of life insurance policy. If you want to, you can name your church, your school, your charity as a beneficiary of all or a portion of the proceeds of that life insurance policy. It is a great way to support the efforts of causes that helped you or helped your own family. Maybe you were treated at a particular hospital. Maybe you were, I had a client once who had a stroke and had received great care at the National Rehabilitation Center here in Washington, D.C. And so when he died, he had provided in his trust, which I wrote for him, of course, and that the National Rehabilitation Hospital would receive a certain amount of money from him, which we did do, and the family was there and the doctors were there, and it wasn't $1 million. That's another thing I want people to realize. You do not have to give $1 million, $100,000 for it to be an important gift. Whatever you give is important. So if you've got 100,000, if you've got 10,000, if you've got 1,000, if you've got 500, that's more than they had before, okay? And so please feel comfortable about giving if you believe in the cause. Another thing that you can do is in your will or in your trust, but particularly in your will, there's what's called the residuary clause. And what that means is this. The will says this person gets this person gets that, X amount of money goes here, my house goes there, all the specific things that you want to give out. And then you can say all the residue of my estate. That's called the residuary estate, where any other property I may die owning goes to. And at that point, that's a great place to put a percentage to go to 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 charities, okay? Because you don't quite know what that money is or how much it is to be. You can set it up so that it doesn't interfere with your primary gifting, that you want to make sure your children or your grandchildren or your nieces, your nephews, your friends, whoever, get a certain amount. But then if you have anything left over, you can still provide, as I did in one case, where her residuary estate went 1/2 to her primary heirs, and then the other half went to 2 major charities here. One university, and another very popular charity here is So Others May Eat. And that turned out to be $75,000 each. Now, that was unexpected, but it was a great benefit to both of those organizations, because when the house was sold, there was a lot more money there than anybody had expected. But my goodness, look at that. This person is doing something that is going to benefit a whole lot of different people. So I want you to think about gifting while you're alive, of course, to the charities that we talked about. Look up tnj.com to find this great list of organizations that serve the black community in particular, and gift to them. Gift to any organizations that have been important in your life. Of course, gift to your church because they are certainly important in our lives. You can, by the way, a lot of people don't realize, you can say, in fact, if you give to a particular organization, a school or a church, and there's a particular purpose that you want that money to go for, to be used for. Maybe you want to give money to a school, but you want it to be used for nursing scholarships. Or you want to give money to your church, and you want it to be used for Sunday school. Maybe you want to give money to your church, and maybe it's for senior citizens. Whatever it might be, if you specify, then you are able to make sure that that money goes where you want it to be. Now, if you have large sums of money, please come to me and let me structure it in a way that is going to be beneficial and will take care of what you really are trying to accomplish. For example, if you are going to give a certain amount, let's say at least $500,000, all right, and that sounds like a lot of money, but you would be surprised how many people around here, with the value of their homes, the value of their retirement accounts, the value of their savings, because people save a lot here. It's easy to get there, and that's why estate tax planning is so important, trying to reduce your estate tax liability. If you're going to give that kind of money, however, because there are a lot of people who do or intend to give to their churches or to their organizations, then please let me counsel you, because it might be that you want to create what's called an endowment. And let me explain that. An endowment is where the money is invested and the income from that investment is what is used, not the money itself. So, for example, let's say you wanted to give your house to your church, okay? And let's say you want to direct that the house is sold when you die, and this money is going to go to your church. But let's say it might be better if you said, instead of being able to spend that money down, you want to make sure that that money goes or is there to keep that church going for the next 100 years. All right? Then what you do is, if the church doesn't already have an endowment, you can ask them to create one, or you can create one yourself in your will. And what that does is it says this money is going to be used, it's to be invested, and the income is going to be used to care for whatever you want in the church. And think about it. $1 million or $500,000 generates or ought to generate at least $50,000 a year, okay, without touching the principal. And so let's say your main priority for giving this money is maybe your church has a scholarship fund that sends students to historically black colleges and universities. And so you want to designate that the money that you're giving is going to be going to those scholarship funds. So you can create an endowment, and you can say the income from this money is to be used to give scholarships for members of the church to go to historically black colleges and universities. And you see, that's how Harvard and Yale and these big universities get so big, and how they have existed for so long. Your big churches have endowments where money is constantly being generated for their care, their upkeep, for continuing their services, but the principle is never touched. Okay, the principle is never touched. So it is still an asset of the church, of the university, or so on. And we may even recommend creating a separate corporate entity. There's a particular kind of entity that I've had done at one big church here to receive a large gift from one of my clients, where this entity will hold the gift. But what it does is, because it is separate but can only be used for the benefit of the church, it's still an asset of the church, but it can never be reached if somebody sues the church. Okay? So even it's not going to be used for the church's creditors. It's not going to be used if somebody slips and falls and sues the church. It's not going to be used, to buy the minister a new car or something like that. It is only for the purposes that this particular person wants, and the income is what's being used, not the principle. So that sets that church up for another at least 20, 30, 40 years. And that's the kind of thinking and doing that I want, or I would like more and more people to consider doing. So anyway, when you are thinking about doing all these things, please get your checkbooks out and send some gifts to charities, to organizations, and so on this Christmas. Contact me next year, please, and let me work with your wills, your power of attorneys, your trust. There are a lot of creative things that I can do to make sure that your desires and your wishes are carried out. I beg of you, we are trained as lawyers. The reason why I do this program is to alert you to what lawyers can do in terms of helping you. Please, if you have, everybody needs to have a will, power of attorney, advance medical directive. You hear me say that all the time. But in particular, if you have circumstances in your family where you want to take care of somebody, but there may be reasons why you have difficulty with what's going to happen after you die. And that might be because someone is a drug addict. Somebody has alcohol problems. Maybe somebody has a mental illness. Maybe somebody has a physical illness. Maybe somebody receives government benefits that are income restricted. There are ways to make sure that that person is taken care of, but not subject your assets and your estate to the government taking your house or getting to what you're leaving for that person. And that is so critical. So if you have that situation, please contact me next year, please, at 202-772-1988. Again, this is Ethel Mitchell, wishing you all very happy holidays. Next week, Stacy My producer is going to be the host, and she's going to have her boss on, Ms. Barbara Arwine, who's dynamic. I'm sure you're going to have a great program next week. But enjoy yourselves and have a great holiday season. Goodbye.